Could have been me.
A healing journey decades in the making.
It never hurt until I saw his name.
Nearly 30 local veterans on a life-changing trip, getting closure and honoring their loved ones.
Instead of having 5 brothers, I had 6 brothers with him, so he was really special.
I didn't think he was going to touch me this bad.
A chance to pay their respects, reflect on their service, and get a feeling of appreciation they'd never felt before.
For somebody to thank you for something that nobody ever thanked you for, it's different.
This is Honor Flight Mission 18. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of News 5. I'm Allison Zimmerman at the Pikes Peak National Cemetery. For the next half hour, we're taking you along on our journey to the nation's capital. I had the opportunity to join 29 of our local veterans on the trip of a lifetime, the Honor Flight, where they were able to see the memorials built in their honor and for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. It all started at the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame in Colorado Springs last month.
It's just unbelievable.
A special treatment for a special group of people. Bright and early on a Friday morning, these veterans prepared for takeoff, eager to get to the nation's capital.
There's a lot of service people that died in those wars, and so I'd like to remember them and how they served.
There was a guy that went to school with my sister, the same high school that even I was in, and he was killed in action in the Army, so I want to go back for him.
The community showing the true definition of appreciation. An escort from the Patriot Guard and local law enforcement giving them a send-off to remember. Wow. Airport workers wasted no time making sure these veterans were taken care of. Hard to miss through DIA and their red shirts and jackets, and people stopping to thank them for their service. And just before takeoff, the pilot made sure they received the accolades they deserve.
We love you, we thank you, and hope you have a wonderful time in DC, and yeah, we appreciate you.
And this trip really is a healing process. For so many of these veterans, the decades since their service have not been easy, and they've had to find other ways to heal. For one of the veterans on this trip, a way he's found peace is through music.
It's therapeutic. That's what it does to me.
TK Wood served in the Vietnam War, and while he was overseas, he received a gift.
I think I was sent by my buddies in a band, sent me a harp. They knew, hey man, we can't send you a guitar, but we can send you the harp.
Little did he know, decades later, it would still be a way for him to pass the time and find peace.
It's just a little side entertainment thing to break the monotony when you're standing in a really long line, and you do that a lot in the military. Say, Lord, Lord, my fade away.
Today, he finds himself using his music as he prepares for a trip to honor his fellow service members.
Brings back never give up. It's the never give up song.
Never give up. It's what Wood sees as a key trait of himself and the men he served with in Vietnam.
That's what's so good about a Vietnam veteran. They came home to a lot, they didn't get a lot. They took a lemon and they made a diamond out of it.
His hope as he heads to the nation's capital is to give himself another way to find peace, paying his respects for those who gave the ultimate sacrifice.
That's the closure I'm looking for. I never got to say goodbye.
And now we head to the nation's capital. 3 of the veterans on this trip served during the Korean War. But for many of these veterans, they also had family members who served, and visiting this memorial brought up some difficult emotions.
could have been me. When I got out of boot camp, I didn't think I was coming home.
Yeah, it's hard to see all these names. There were so many of them went. Even some friends of mine that were girls went over there as nurses, and they never came back.
And as you can see, this trip really is such a powerful experience for these veterans. None of the veterans on this trip served in World War II, but so many of them also have a connection to it, which is why visiting this memorial gave them a chance to heal and tell their families' stories.
Look at the stars behind us. It puts me in memory of my uncle who died on D-Day and my dad's brother who survived being with Patton's Third Army, and just the memories.
Albert Jessen, he was a medic for the 755th Tank Battalion, South Africa, or North Africa, and Italy. This is David Osborne, Corporal David Osborne. He was a radar technician in the Philippines. He was captured, he went through the Death March in the Philippines, and he was a prisoner of war for the Japanese for 3 years.
What's it like being here today?
I didn't think it was going to touch me this bad, but it's good. And I'm glad to bring my dad along.
So many emotions that people feel, and I'm hoping that younger folks, that people look at this and say, this is worth fighting for, this is worth defending.
Ahead on this special edition of News 5, we continue our journey on the Honor Flight, introducing you to a pair of veterans whose friendship spans decades.
I never feel more comfortable than veterans.
Welcome back. We're here at the Pikes Peak National Cemetery for this special edition of News 5, where we're taking you along on the Honor Flight, where nearly 30 of our local veterans had the chance to fly to our nation's capital and see the memorials built in their honor on an all-expense-paid trip. Now, some of the veterans on this trip may discover they were with each other at the same place at the same time during their service. But for a pair of Navy veterans on this trip, they knew full well where their story begins, and it happens at the very beginning of their service days.
It's emotional, it's confusing, brings up lots of survivor guilt.
Bob Turano and Gary Wetzel served together in Vietnam. Decades later, they're here, together, remembering those who did not make it home.
Most of the people on our list, about half of them aren't on the wall.
Their story of friendship goes back to the beginning of their time in the Navy.
We actually met in boot camp. He was in one boot camp company and I was in another. I happened to be talking to, we'd already been assigned our ships. I've been talking to a guy and he says, I have a guy out of my company that got assigned to the same ship. And he introduced me to Gary.
We're out in the patio area from our barracks.
Bob from Pueblo and Gary from the Springs. They'd go on to work in the same area on the ship. And you guys have stayed in touch all of these years.
Well, it gets worse than that.
Yeah, there's more to the story.
His sister sent a picture of herself in a bikini, and he had it on his desk, and all the guys are saying they're going to go home and meet her. This was right after Vietnam, after we left Vietnam. I ended up marrying her. Well, we ended up getting divorced, but he and I stayed good friends.
Yeah. We didn't hold it against each other.
A friendship that's lasted 50 years.
I mean, without the service, we would have never met. We would have never become friends. The things we did on the ship, we did everything. We won't go into the bloody details. That's not for young ears.
Plus we forgot what I was going to say now.
Old age sucks, huh?
Plus we have the same kind of discipline and thoughts because we have a lot of memory, a lot of history.
Memories that are not always bright. As Vietnam veterans, coming back to the U.S. sticks out as a dark time.
Returning home was not a fun experience. When we first came back, I know Gary and I both felt the same. We didn't belong here. It was our country, but it wasn't the same. We weren't the same.
When we were in Vietnam, we'd hear about these people protesting, and we were like, why? What are we doing here? You know, what's this whole story going on? I don't think we realized how bad it was till we got out and came back home. It was awful.
And now, decades later, they're here, side by side, reliving some of those stories together. What are you feeling right now?
I don't know. It's just all with a lot of memories.
Something I heard from several of the veterans on this trip is they didn't expect themselves to be so moved or get so emotional at some of these memorials. Now, our veterans also got the chance to head to Arlington National Cemetery to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where they got to see 2 wreath-laying ceremonies. It was a really powerful ceremony for these veterans as they had a chance to reflect on their service.
I'm a volunteer at the Pikes Peak National Cemetery, and every time we have a ceremony, a burial ceremony at the cemetery, they play taps, and it's the same feeling I get. It's just chills. It actually chills and goosebumps on your arms every time I hear it, and I must hear it maybe 4 or 5 times a week sometimes.
It was heart-wrenching for me. I've been here before, but this is one of the most beautiful ceremonies I've ever been to.
And what was really nice was as we were leaving, we see all these young people that were saying, thank you, thank you. And,
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah,
That was
great. Yeah.
And the surprises kept coming for these veterans on this trip. A really sweet moment happened on the flight back. All 29 of these veterans were surprised with a final mail call where they received letters from local kids, family, friends, as well as the Colorado Springs mayor. For some of these veterans, they never received mail call while they were serving overseas. And this brought out all of the tears, laughter, and smiles.
That a lot of you didn't get mail when you were overseas, and I know that that made your time overseas longer and probably a little harder for you. If I call your name out, if you please raise your hand, I'd appreciate it.
Wonderful, 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 amazing.
Abe Braverman, Wayne Lindemeyer,
Sarah Diana Waltz, I'm in first grade, he says. Thank you. How cool is that? It's amazing. I mean, you know, for somebody to thank you for something that nobody ever thanked you for, it's different.
And I didn't do it for that reason. I did it because I love this country. It's so hard.
After all the time to receive all the thanks, especially from some of the little kids that have wrote, but even from the adults that are thanking us for our service and for what we did.
That's great.
How does it feel to get this mail?
Airmail too.
Dennis Thompson?
Great surprise. And God bless them all.
The mail thing here, because it was such an event in Vietnam. Everybody gathered around the picnic area or wherever it was designated for mail call, and just getting a letter from your wife or girlfriend or sister, brother, mom and dad. If the mail didn't come in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days because couldn't get there or whatever, it was depressing. So when you saw that thing fly over and the mail come out or the Jeep come in with the mail, you knew that day joy was right around the corner. It was almost like leaving Vietnam when your tour was up. It brought a lot of happiness and smiles in your face.
As 19-year-old kids coming back from a war, we thought we would be welcomed as heroes. We weren't.
Still to come, we're bringing you back home to Colorado Springs to show you how the community showed up and gave these veterans a homecoming fit for a hero. As special as the trip is, coming home to Colorado Springs is one of the most incredible moments of the trip. For so many of these veterans, they never received a welcome home ceremony like this.
Hey, great trip.
It was a homecoming celebration years in the making.
Welcome. And when I got back from Vietnam, you know, they didn't treat us like they're treating us now. So I'm really happy that this happened to me. And my wife insisted on me going on this. I didn't really want to go.
Bernie Sanchez's wife may have been the reason why he ended up on this flight, but his grandson is who made the journey with him.
Memory with your grandfather?
I mean, it's pretty indescribable. Just seeing him out here with, you know, his peers and how he interacts with everyone still, and, you know, just how he carries himself. It was pretty special. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
A packed weekend for these vets, seeing the war memorials in the nation's capital. And back home in Colorado Springs, a massive welcome home from the community.
Thank you.
Reuniting with their families and getting a ceremony so many of them never received.
I have a new set of friends here, and it is just so exciting. Just absolutely terrific.
I'm about ready to cry. It's overwhelming. As 19-year-old kids coming back from a war, we thought we would be welcomed as heroes. We weren't. So today was great. It's overwhelmed me. So much emotion.
I was there sharing their pain. I think I'll take that home with me and know that they feel better.
But I came this time. It was very emotional, but I think it's going to help me heal. It was a great, great experience.
Thank you for your generosity at coming out.
Friendships created over an understanding of their service and so much more.
Before us are 29 heroes that just embarked on an incredible journey.
Retired Brigadier General Kristen Goodwin also spoke with the veterans, thanking them for their service and the impact they've had on the nation.
That I am here today because I stood on the shoulders of each and every one of you and those that served before me.
I didn't expect all that out there. That was just amazing.
Thanks for joining us for this special edition of News 5. For more Honor Flight stories, head to KOAA.com.